I think the boss fights from Arknights Endfield so far are above Genshin's by far. By far. Shits on Genshin's boss fights. 1,000,000%. Especially the one at the end of the technical test. And they're still below Wuthering Waves. All right, I want to genuinely watch this. Okay, Arknights Endfield. Okay, obviously we all know I have a history with Arknights. Okay, no one's denying that. Everybody knows it. Okay, was not a fan of the, I guess, the development and the moderation for that game and the community managers. Okay, this is a different game. Okay, gonna give this, you know, an open slate. Okay, fresh blank slate. We're gonna try it out. We'll see how it goes. Is it good? I will be real, and I'm not saying this to be a dick. From what I've seen, it really does not look that good, right? Which sucks, because it's not that I don't want it to be good. I do want it to be good. I do genuinely want this game to be good. But I do know that constructive criticism right now is very, very, very important. And nitpicking is very, very, very important. Now, I think this footage is maybe a month or two old. That's fine. I believe the game is coming out in 2024 from what I've heard, but we will see. I am curious on whether this game is going to be good or not. It's looking rough, but I'd love to hear somebody else's opinion.
Field. I've been playing this game for the past 3 days, and I've been taking my time playing.
Okay, this thing already. This field, this Factorio shit. Bro, we were just I'm going to pull this up, okay, because I know I'm making this a video. This system looks insane. Like, there's so much. Like, what the f is that? It's insane, right? I don't know who the hell's got time to figure that shit out. And it doesn't look interesting, like, oh wow, now I get to really rack my brain. It just looks tedious and nonsensical, but maybe it'll make sense once I play it. It looks insane.
With the base building, the combat, the story missions, and so much more. In this video, I'll be sharing everything I liked and disliked about the game.
Another thing that I really did not like about the game is this. Okay, I want you to look at this. So this is one of my favorite characters from the previous Arknights game. Why the f does she look so soulless when she's doing this? Because it's not every character that does it, but it should be like a very cute, happy pose. But the face is just dead. Like, completely fucking dead. And also,
in this video, I'll be sharing everything
when you see the enemies, it looks a little bit goofy, but still, I'm going to be nitpicking a lot, keeping it 100%.
I liked and disliked about the game. However, this won't be a full review because I don't understand Chinese, and I'd like to give them as much time as possible to improve the game,
100%.
While also providing a little bit of feedback from a global player's perspective.
100%. Now, I will also say I've been following this game since the announcement of the game. And I will say the game that they showed at the beginning versus the game they have now is a completely different game. And they've made improvements in almost every single aspect, from gameplay to graphics to overall world building and color palette. So I think it is moving in a very good direction. A very, very, very good direction. But there's still so much I'm worried about. And I think one of the best things that I've seen so far is the combat, not of the mobs, that looks terrible, but of the boss fights. They have some incredibly complex boss fights that actually have a little bit of meat to them. Now, I will admit they take very long. Some people will like that, some will not. But I have seen a boss fight that seemed pretty good for the last phase. I'm curious if it'll be in this video.
After watching this video, please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's get it popping. After over a year since their initial announcement of Arknights Endfield, Hypergriff has launched a Chinese exclusive tech test which serves as our first real look into the game. I've been spending hours upon hours on this game and stopped counting at around 25 hours and enjoyed every single moment of the experience. This video won't serve as a deep dive into the mechanics because everything is subject to change.
I will also say, this right here, I think this character genuinely looks fucking awesome. Besides the face, I think the hair looks good, the outfit looks good, I feel like the animations look good.
Won't serve as a deep dive into the mechanics.
The face looks okay. It looks a little bit flat, right?
Mechanics, because everything is subject to change, and I'm not even sure if I understand every aspect of these systems anyway.
No problem.
But I'll briefly go over what I do understand.
Running
and
looks
my
whack.
Overall opinion of the game as a whole.
Does not look fluid at all. That's gotta be Chen, right? I used to love that character. I hope they have Blaze. Blaze is sick as from Arknights.
Let's kick this off by talking about combat and character progression. This game starts by introducing you to the combat where they teach you basic attacks which are controlled by the left click of the mouse. You learn how to execute your skills, how to break enemy shields, and how to take advantage of a form of elemental manipulation. Included in this tutorial, you're introduced to enhancing your skills, weapons, and more. At first, the combat feels very basic as the beginning of the game is really easy. I felt as if
Yeah, I mean, you play as one character and then your other 3 teammates auto battle next to you. I mean, I think I can understand how it feels like you're going out as like a squad, you know, as a group of operatives, but it looks really fucking goofy. I mean, maybe there will be other, I mean, who knows how this will affect the meta, characters that you're meant to play as and characters that are meant to play for you. I don't know. I personally enjoy the strategy that other games like Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves are implementing where you go as a squad of 4, but then you can swap between character and character. I really feel like the 3 characters fighting alongside you looks just really fucking weird. It also breaks immersion for a lot of the abilities that they get hit by, but they take reduced damage because, well, you're not in control of them or whatever the fuck that gimmicky mechanic is. And also, the thing that I really don't like about the combat is there's no dodge button. And I don't get that because a no dodge button to me screams that the mechanics can't be as complex, but some of the mechanics are complex, but you have to dodge them in very goofy ways. I mean, I feel like the dodge button is a staple of almost every single game of this genre. Elden Rings, Dark Souls, Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, PGR. Every single one of these things has a fucking dodge button, but this game does not have one. It's super weird.
Could take any character and clap anything, but when the first boss was introduced, I started to see what death looks like in this game. As you dive further and further into the game, you start to find more depth
this fight is
combinations that work with specific characters.
That fight's
on
awesome.
Elements, along with paying attention to the
really
timing
good fight
needed to stop enemies from dealing high damage attacks or releasing support abilities. The game feels familiar enough, yet different enough to excite me for the future of the game, especially after experiencing the final boss fight at the end of the tech test.
There's more?
There's more than that? Tier gameplay. The character progression requires farming for specific materials as expected, but there's one aspect
maybe that was the fight
that caught my attention.
Yeah, that fight seems really good.
This game has replaced the generic artifact-like system which forces players to farm one area over and over for specific stats.
Okay.
In this game, all of the armor stats that I've discovered are static, which means that if I farm for a specific gear piece and I receive 2 of that same chest piece, they will have the same stats. Arknights Endfield appears to...
That I did not hear about at all. I think that could actually be very good for player feel, but also very bad for player retention. So if you get the piece once, then you get it forever. I mean, that's kind of the same that's the same way they did Arknights, where once you built a character and it's maxed, you can't get it any better. So it felt okay to me. That generally made the upgrades, instead of being very RNG, they made it just take a very long time to do unless you spend money. But yeah, that's very interesting.
Focus on gear sets, and all of the gear that I've seen is not only found in the world, it's also craftable from your base after you acquired them. You'll craft them using materials that are found in the world and can be crafted from your base itself. The base is the most experimental aspect of the test because there's literally no restrictions beyond the size of your base, which is expanded as you progress through the game and level up your base. I spent the most time trying to find a way to optimize the base in a way that will provide all of the things that I need to move forward in the main content. You'll also be expanding power lines throughout the different zones to not only build other locations up, but to loot the materials of each zone. You can place healing spots all over the world and zip lines for ease of travel once the power lines have been set up.
That's really cool.
Part of the core mechanics for exploration.
That's really cool. I don't know if that's necessary unless they've taken out fast travel. For games like World of Warcraft from back in the early 2000s, I know being able to teleport besides Mage Portal, like for example, the flight system. People really enjoyed the flight system because it would take you a long time to get from one point to one point. It was automated, right? So it made the world feel more alive until Burning Crusade came out, and then Flying was introduced, which made the overall immersive world feel much smaller and not as exciting. So I don't know if there's still going to be fast travel points, but I think the little gliders could be cool. And also, this base still just looks incredibly tedious. There's fast travel, but not many. Okay. All right. I mean, it looks like it's actually trying to do a lot of things that other games aren't doing, which I greatly respect. You know, I mean, this game, the more I hear about it, the more that I see it, the more things I'm just like, I think that a lot. Why the are they doing it? It is really doing a lot of goofy ass shit. Maybe it could work, but I don't know.
And expansion within the game include the base to be properly built, as it's the foundation to continuous growth as new items are found and need to be farmed. So, what are my overall thoughts on the game so far? I think Hypergriff has found the secret sauce to another masterpiece. The reason why is because it's not overwhelming in terms of the world.
I wouldn't say Hypergriff has ever had a masterpiece. I think Arknights was fun, but it left a lot of things to be desired, and there was so many dead patches, it was absolutely ridiculous. And once something was solved in CN, then it was immediately solved in Western audiences. And then if you solved it too quick, then people would say that you stole from the CN strategist. So, I wouldn't say they've made masterpieces. I would say they're pretty cool, but I don't know. The anime also sucked balls. Am I crazy?
World that they've built. The world consists of many large zones instead of an open world to explore. Doing this means that they can create many different zones, each with their own secrets, as the game continues to expand further. The Easter eggs are nice to see, as they show the connection between Arknights and Endfield without forcing people to know the entirety of the lore for the original game.
Good.
Endfield has a nice bit of difficulty to it, and I only expect it to get harder as they introduce more.
The Arknights lore drove me insane, because it was just like, hey, this really depressing thing happened. Oh, and then this other really depressing thing happened. Oh, and then there's a depressing thing, and that's going to happen too. And then after that, something else really depressing is going to happen, like over and over and over and over again. And that works for other people, but for me, you need to have balance. Like happy thing, sad thing, happy thing, sad thing. Because if everything's happy, nothing is. If everything's sad, nothing is. And to quote a great man from The Incredibles, if everything is special, nobody is.
Enemies, bosses, zones, and lore into the game. The UI shows the technical improvements that the developers have made to their skill set, while also
See, that's what I'm really confused about right here, is that in this photo, she looks really happy and really cute with the peace sign. I don't know why they don't just make that the face for when she ults, because right now it just looks f***ing weird.
Have made to their skill set, while also keeping things simple and appealing. I could go on and on, but I think it's safe to say that after my experience with Arknights Endfield, I came out a lot less skeptical and much happier knowing what Endfield is instead of what it might be.
Exactly.
This is the first time that I don't have to say a game has potential, as it's not something that could be promising. Instead, it not only met my expectations, it also exceeded them. I will be a day one player regardless of what comes out after this test. Now, I do have a few things that I feel could...
So, I want to be honest. I like giving every game a fair opportunity, no matter how bad it looks. There's never been a game, or especially a mobile game, where it was so bad I didn't even give it a shot. Because then at least I can make fun of it for being terrible. But I'm hopefully optimistic, but there's just so many things that I think need changing, and I'm not sure how many of those can be changed. I also, you know what, I'll get to all of my thoughts at the end of this video.
Could be improved. Base building is fun to experience. However, there were moments when the grid didn't cooperate, and I couldn't place down the things needed to improve my base or obtain needed items. I found that including the character made things a lot more difficult. It may be better to remove the character aspect altogether and just have your party rest somewhere while you control the base builder with your mouse and keyboard.
100%.
In terms of combat, I don't like how switching just swaps the two locations of the characters you want to use and the character you're swapping from. My suggestion is to have the camera move to the location of the character you're switching to, as there are too many times I've swapped between characters in an attempt to save one and the other would be killed as well. I also found that the party AI needs to be improved drastically. Your party members should know when to run away from attacking enemies, when to request healing, and avoid enemies that could cause their death. The rest of my complaints are visual, pertaining to the characters' expressions and such. But I'm sure they're aware of those issues, so I won't complain too much about them. These are literally the only complaints that I had during the entire test. I love the difficulty. I love the combat. I love the base building. I love this game, and I'm going to be incredibly sad once the beta is over and I no longer have any ability to play it. I really can't wait for more Arknights Endfield as it comes closer to a possible global test and its eventual release. So, what did you think of Arknights Endfield after all the footage that has been released over the past couple of days? Let me know your thoughts on the game so far and why you feel that way in the comment section below. Have a wonderful day, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay chaotic.
First of all, I think this video is really well made. Second of all, I really enjoy how optimistic Chaotic is for this. Thirdly, I think he gave it a very fair critique. The things that he was worried about, I was worried about. So overall, this gives me actually a lot of optimism for the game's future. The combat to me looks like it would not be that fun. But he actually played the game. I have not played the game at all. So maybe I do, obviously, and I will. I'm going to give the game a fair chance. But being completely real, I feel like the animations are okay. Because the thing is, you have to understand, this isn't just a standalone game anymore. It's really not. Every single game that comes out is going to have to compete against Genshin Impact. Is going to have to compete against Wuthering Waves. Is going to have to compete against Endless Zone Zero. Is going to have to compete against 7 Deadly Sins Origins. Okay? Realistically, the character models are not as good as Genshin's. Okay? They're probably around the same as Wuthering Waves. The animations are the worst of the three. Okay? The expressions are also the worst of the three. The complexity of the base building that I've seen seems interesting, but if it is easier than it looks, I feel like that could give it a head over the other shoulders by having something that players can really intellectually deep dive themselves into and get immersed in. Maybe. Or they'll think it's tedious and just give up on it and pull up a YouTube video. Who knows? So I do think there is something for this game. I would say for Arknights Endfield, I do think it could have a place for, they don't care about character looks. They don't care about the world looks. Maybe the story's okay, but for more cerebral players and who want a more tactical style game, perhaps this could be the game for them. I don't think it will have mainstream appeal. I don't think it'll break out into the mainstream like Genshin did. Nor do I believe Wuthering Waves will either. But I do think perhaps for cerebral tactical enjoyer video game enthusiasts, they could enjoy this. For story and lore, Honkai Star Rail. For animations and world, Genshin Impact. And then for combat, Wuthering Waves. So we might have the ability in the near future to be able to pick and choose what exactly we want, tailored to what interests us in video games, which could be a very good thing. Story ages on. You don't like story? You don't like Honkai Star Rail story? I think like Honkai Star Rail story is awesome. Me personally, story and lore, Honkai Impact, clear Star Rail for now. Yeah, but that shit waffles, bro. That shit waffles. Like, bro, that shit is a fucking yap fest. But that's just me. Regardless, what do y'all think? HSR story's okay. I feel like it's an incredibly fun story delivered. Like the pacing for Honkai Star Rail story, I feel like is very quick. Like, you know, like cool thing, cool thing, cool thing, cool thing, cool thing, cool thing. Where a lot of gacha games are just like, oh, look at that. Ooh. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing.